Hi, I'm Melissa Jochim, founder and CEO of High Beauty, and you're listening to Professionally Cannabis.
Where do they go, the smoke rings I blow each night? Oh,
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Professionally Cannabis. I'm your host, Oscar Houseman, and with me is my co-host with the mostestest. It's Johnny Weiser.
How current. Thank you very much, Oscar, and thank you, listeners, for joining us again.
So, Johnny, who do we have on this week?
So this week's episode, we're actually interviewed Melissa Jochim. Now, she is the founder and CEO of a really cool cosmetics company called High Beauty. She is one of my favorite people, and, I really had a blast interviewing her with you, Oscar.
Yes, and we can't forget to mention that she gave us some of her products, which, mine are suddenly wrapped up for Christmas, so I don't quite know yet if they're as good as the branding makes it seem, but my God, those are some beautiful leaves on the front, right?
Well, yeah, I've used the face wash, and it was pretty great.
Well, my God, does your face look beautiful? We really should record these episodes, but until that happens, you can listen to this one, listeners.
where do they go, the smoke
I'm
rings
pleased to
I
welcome
blow
Melissa
each
Jochim
night?
as our guest today here on Professionally Cannabis, a serial entrepreneur who started with a strict scientific background but found herself moving into consumer cosmetics at the beginning of her 30-year career, working with essential oils and terpenes. Now, after being the founding formulator for Juice Beauty, she's the CEO and founder of High Beauty. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Melissa, a question that we asked to all of our guests on Professionally Cannabis, which I'm sure you've heard before in our previous episodes, but what led you to the plant?
So, in the early 2000s, this cannabis sativa seed extracts were made available through natural products and food stores here in the US. And mostly because of the antioxidants and the nutrients. It's one of the most potent essential fatty acid counts that we can get. And this is an ingredient that's always fascinated me. It's been a part of many formulas that I've done, even a hair care line that I work with in New York, a Marciel Vivo. I use hemp seed oil as one of the key ingredients. So working with seed derivatives for skincare, it's important to me. It's the basis of what I do with High Beauty. It's much more involved than just seed oil, but it's definitely the basis of how High Beauty came into being.
And the cannabis industry right now is going through something of a boom, but cannabis seeds, or hemp seeds as they're sometimes called here in Europe, they're not regulated in the same way. So do you think that your fatty acids, I think they're omega long chain acids, are they riding on the hype of CBD and THC to some extent, or are they solid, good ingredients on themselves?
I really feel that they're good ingredients on them, on themselves. They've been studied. You take a look at seed derivatives and the nutrient load, it's astounding what you can actually get from a seed. That you take a look at what's happening in the world of cannabis now, and the seeds are less being extracted or cold pressed. They're being harvested and saved for next harvest and genetics. So it's interesting because the seeds it's very important, but in a different way. So, I find that interesting to see seeds are more for genetic makeup than what we've looked to that before as a nutrient ingredient.
So, Melissa, for folks that could be listening to this podcast that aren't personally familiar with High Beauty and the products in your stable, could you tell us a little bit more about them? I know personally, sort of, when you guys sent over a little bit of product to me, I was very grateful, and my partner seems to rave about them. So you have strong endorsement from Europe right here.
Well, awesome. Soon we're going to be able to actually buy our products at Douglas. We're going on shelf right now in Germany. So I'm excited about that. But High Beauty, the basis is really the seed fascinates me, as I say, for the ingredients and the antioxidants that it brings. The plant itself is, literally a weed. It's so sturdy and durable and has endurance factor to it. And I really feel the seed, you capture that. I think that's why the plant has so many benefits. High Beauty, we use cannabis sativa seed oil, completely legal. We're not working with CBD. We're not working with THC. It allows us to, be legal in everywhere from US to, as I said, EU and Canada. But we're not just cannabis sativa seed oil. I'm actually blending the cannabis oil with bioflavonoids and terpenes that, really mimic the full cannabis profile, but in a way that they're really focused for healthy skin. I'm not trying to penetrate and go deeper than the basal layer. I'm really dealing with the skin from the basal layer out. And the chemistry that goes into each bottle of High Beauty is focused on, you think of a skin cell is born on that basal layer and it pops off. At that point, it's in the process of just dehydrating and really moving its way and falling off your face. So the chemistry of that level of our epidermis is you're looking for wonderful lipids that can protect those cellular membranes and keep those cells hydrated while they're on your skin. You're looking for, hydration to keep that extracellular matrix as best as it can be. So when I look at, what I pull from the plant, the seed oil and the bioflavonoids I use for, inflammation, and the terpenes I'm using to balance everything from, sebum, adaptogenic effects for sebum, and, just overall balance the skin, it's a great profile. And I kind of call that my special sauce. I'm not going to break into a Justin Timberlake song right now, but it's in every product that I make, and it's the special piece.
And as I understand it, your personal history with terpenes really far pre-exists the cannabis rush that has, been clear to everyone globally over the last few years. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
No, it's one of my favorite things is that you look at consumers and they actually know what the word terpene means. I studied chemistry at the University of Missouri, and my whole goal was planning on flying the space shuttle. And I was heading to the Air Force and I wanted to be a scientist. Needless to say, that path did not happen in my life. And I was studying chemistry and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's easy. I did it because it made sense. It was just so easy for me and I loved it. But I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm not, what am I doing? And my first job actually out of college was with Robert Tisserand from your neck of the woods. And he really is the founder of aromatherapy. If you think back in the early 90s, the term aromatherapy did not even exist. And I was very fortunate to learn essential oils based on their different terpene profiles and functional groups and how they interacted with the body. You look at the volatility essential oils and how quickly they penetrate our skin and have a pretty far-reaching effect on our inner well-being. It's full circle for me. That's exactly the conversation we're having about the ingredients that are being extracted from cannabis. And I love that. I love learning how this plant can actually be used for well-being and everything, all of the cannabinoids, not just CBD. And it brings me back to that beginning where I was actually, learning more about essential oils and how they had the same effects on the body.
Yes, I want to take this rare chance of having someone scientifically trained who understands terpenes and who is a guest on our podcast to maybe talk a little bit about what are terpenes. We talk about them broadly and as part of the entourage effect here, but I think for a lot of listeners, myself included, I wouldn't be able to distinguish perhaps on a more fundamental level why a terpene isn't considered an endocannabinoid. Is it just because of its interactions within the body, or is it something to do with its structure?
It's really its structure. So it's a functional group on a molecule and how that interacts within the body once it's in our system. The interesting thing about most of the terpenes is that you end up with them penetrating, having an effect on our inner systems, but they don't linger and stay behind. So you end up with, really a quick way to, I feel, benefit, your internal well-being or your well-being with these key functional groups. It's like lock and key. So, they could end in an OH or it could end in a COOH or double bonds and different actions that each molecule has. And there's just, you do a gas chromatograph on an ingredient, it's going to give you those peaks of each of the different terpenes that are shown within. In an essential oil, it varies from harvest to harvest. So when you look at rose from Bulgaria versus a rose from, the US or a different variety, they each have different peaks and valleys, different functional groups, different terpenes, and it varies. It's magnificent to kind of see. And when you think of cannabis and all of the different, species and all of the different terpenes that are available, each of those have a very specific benefit once they enter the body. So, when I'm working with terpenes, I'm using essential oils. I work with things, I work with Melissa officinalis. I work with petitgrain, which is the leaf of citrus of an orange. I'm actually working with bergamot, which is a smaller citrus fruit. Those are the three oils that I really work with for their functional group profile. But every product I make will smell, every harvest is going to smell different. So my oil that's the last harvest could be different from the oil that I make next year, just based on the different terpene profile that oil presents. There's a lot of unique essential oils that mimic cannabis, everything from hops to basil to helichrysum, that have those same functional groups you find within the cannabis plant. Hopefully I answered some of that. I kind of went on a tangent there.
It's interesting nonetheless.
Oh, 100%. Moving on to perhaps more of the business side of things. And I think the phrase seed to shelf perhaps is more apt in this interview than most that we've done before. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey from the beginning, really, starting High Beauty as an idea and how the business has grown and developed into one of the hottest brands out there at the moment?
I took a look at what I wanted to do. I love building brands, creating brands. I see them, and I'm unique because I see them from what is actually in the bottle all the way to shelf. So the formula, how it's unique and different, and how that actually resonates on shelf for a consumer and what the needs are there. When I started looking at what I wanted to do brand-wise in working with cannabis, I looked at all areas, all channels. So prestige, I looked at natural food, I looked at mass market, and I even looked at dispensary, the world of, really working with the THC side of things. And I really flushed out my idea or concept of what I would present or what really would resonate for that customer in each of those channels. And the first one that really made the most sense was prestige. And I had a great relationship with Sephora, so I really went in early on and presented an idea for a completely different brand. And, very before legality for the legal landscape changed here in California and here in the US. So I was a bit before my time there. And usually I've been told that over the course of my career. It's like, Melissa, you're 18 months too early, whether it's speaking to Target or, it's always something. Or even in the beginning days when we launched Juice Beauty in Sephora, there wasn't even a natural wall, an organic wall. People didn't understand what a natural ingredient was. This is like, early 2000s. We launched in 2004. And there wasn't a natural wall. Did natural ingredients work? People didn't have an understanding of that, and they really didn't have an understanding of it for skin. So when I came in with the idea of let's, really base a skincare brand on using, cannabis sativa seed oil as the key ingredient, and make this ingredient as important as like a customer shopping for vitamin C or products, or a customer, shopping for hyaluronic acid, the key ingredients that are out in market, but have this ingredient be a go-to ingredient. The legality was a big piece of California laws changing. And we were first really in the space to come in being, obviously no CBD, no THC, but the first to take the seed and take that ingredient and anchor that in a whole range of skincare products. So you had everything from cleanse to, moisturize, peeling mask, everything. Whereas most people were coming at it from, a direction of CBD and more on the wellness side with, how can we help people on the well-being side or the body side? Whereas I came in from a totally different way. So that's kind of the story. It ended up, we went into Sephora, we went online on Sephora beginning of the year, and it's been amazing. We had an exclusive with Sephora, but we've opened that up just because of had so many people really be interested in the brand. And a lot's happened in the, even the last 6 months. Our whole range has come offline. We're, production, fully stocked warehouse. And we're the first brand that's actually working with cannabis to go into Macy's now. And we're
Wow.
in Urban Outfitters, we're in Anthropology. We're really moving quite quickly where we're heading here in the US. I didn't expect to be so well received in Canada. It wasn't part of our strategy for 19. And we had the same response. We're actually going into the Bay. We're one of the key, they're only cannabis related brands and that were chosen. We're going into Indigo, and I'm really excited, but we're the first brand to be approved for the shopping channel, the shopping choice it's called now.
So I think that actually segues on quite nicely to my next question, which is focusing more specifically on the shelf side of things. If I were to walk into one of the stores that are stocking high beauty products, who do you think, or what type of products do you see yourself, I guess, competing with for shelf space? The brand is, very much sort of sitting within the cannabis brand's sphere, but obviously regulatory wise, it doesn't match up with the other sort of CBD brands. Where do you see the products and the brand competing with, and do you also see this shifting over time?
I love this question because it's something we've had to navigate as a brand. We've had a lot of people approach us to be brought into a CBD set. And for us to stand alone as a skincare brand is really my goal. And it's taken a while. I feel it's taken a while for not only retailers, the retail buyers need to have an understanding of CBD. And as they're realizing, oh, wait, high beauty is unique. High beauty is actually skincare and can hold its own within our space of skincare brands, right next to, top skincare brands versus being only in our CBD sets. A lot of places have brought us into the CBD section and quickly have realized that we do extremely well in that area. We're unique. It's allowed us to be differentiated, stand apart, have a point of difference. And they've quickly realized that we can go all doors. For instance, we'd start with 43 urban stores, but then expand to all doors because we can go into Canada and we can go into the UK and we can go into all shelves. And I really feel high beauty to me is a skincare brand. It's being acknowledged as a skincare brand where, you're going to see us, we have our essential skincare line now. You're going to see us expand into, I call it high clarity, where blemish products. You're going to see us with our high potency line that really speaks to a more mature demographic. We're going to round the range out as the years come so that we're a brand that lasts. And the connection point, high to me is really being a higher version of yourself and feeling beautiful in the skin you're in at any age. My focus again being skincare.
So that sounded like a huge range of products coming out, but everything still centered around skincare. Do you have any plans or thoughts about adding cannabinoids to the product range?
It's funny you should ask that. It's been a while since we've spoken, Jonathan, so a lot has changed and happened. We've had a lot of requests, and you know me, just I'm not a me too. I'm a person, the brands that I've done over the years, that we do have a unique approach. I tend to find white space that's come at it differently. I have patents for using organic juices as bases in skincare. I do crazy things like that. We are actually launching I'm calling it our high input collection, and it's our wellness collection for body. And it will involve cannabinoids and the inputs, and very, very unique and cool terpene mixes that I've just finished putting together. But it's our body range, and it's going to be focused in a much different methodology. So instead of going and just buying a CBD lotion, I'm not really a me too. I'm working with, different cannabinoids, CBN, CBG, CBC, very minor cannabinoids in a way that allow a broader profile of benefit. And I'm doing a really cool thing. You're gonna have to visualize here, but it's a
Go on.
lotion it's a lotion and an oil base. You pick one of those, and that's our base formula, that special sauce I spoke of earlier, where it's, cannabis sativa seed oil with bioflavonoids and a few terpenes. Those are the bases. They have no input in them. There's no cannabinoid in them. And then you pick and choose from an array similar to like blending essential oils of the cannabinoids. So you literally go, tonight, I really am feeling I want to sleep better, or I want to have less anxiety. So you choose your oil base and you squirt some in your hand. And then you choose, I think I'll work with a little CBN tonight and a CBC blend, and mix those together and then apply them to my, let's say, around my neck and shoulders, and, on my wrists and feet, or wherever. So it's a
That sounds
blend
cutting
your
edge.
own.
When would that be hitting?
It's for spring. So we just started production. We just finalized our terpene blends and finalized our supply chain, again, seed to bottle. And we're going to be unique. We're actually going to be working with some USDA certified organic cannabinoids. They've got a wonderful partner that's really worked with me. Also Canopy River is, as you know, an investor, a major investor in High Beauty. Very grateful. They've been awesome. They've been very supportive in the biochemistry side of the things that we've done, their team. We have a provisional patent in place just for the methodology, because it is such a unique offering. And interestingly enough, I mentioned a bit about where we are on the retail landscape. A lot of the retailers, even Macy's, are very excited about this line, the high input line.
Now, on that, so I had a question in mind, and then it became a two-part question, and I fear this might become a three-part question now, but bear with me. With such a unique offering like that, it sounds like there certainly needs to be more of a campaign around consumer education around these cannabinoids, around how to mix them, etc., etc. I guess one of the questions is, how do you plan about going about doing that? And maybe the second part is, how will your message differ between location to location in terms of what you are and are not to say and aren't allowed to say in different countries? And then the third part, which was the original question I was thinking of, is how big a role does social media play in your advertising and branding for High Beauty? I know for myself, personally, I'm a bit of a social media Luddite. LinkedIn is perhaps my main vice, but sort of I do have visibility, through our work accounts and through my partners on Instagram and Facebook. And one of the things that really struck me is that, looking at your Instagram account, it's beautiful. It's really great. The tiles is really enticing, and you want to sort of find out more about this brand. I guess a combination of all these things. How will that change with the additional education you might need to lay on for this new line? And apologies for the 35 questions I probably just asked there.
I loved it.
No worries. Your brain resonates with my brain very well. So we'll kind of jump in. Let me go back. I'm going to go back to how we actually trained essential oils. And this is early in my career. We used to go to every major health food store and do trainings on our brands. And I would do blending classes, and it became really popular. It was my roadshow, and I would bring oil and lotion, and everyone would leave with their blends, and they would learn 12 different essential oils based on benefits and how things blended together, from top notes to middle notes to base notes based on the terpenes and how volatile they are. And it's really similar. It's going to really be the same type of program that I put in place. So my biggest thing is choosing, I feel, a retail partner that is very involved with training and education on not just on our skincare brand, but allows us to come in and do this type of a training. And each of our retailers has a different way of going about that. We don't do as much training in an Urban Outfitters, whereas in a Sephora or a Macy's or a Bay, they really do require our field advisors to come in, train on the brand. And this will become part of that, is to how to blend the cannabinoids. There's going to be a big need as far as our merchandising goes. So already our shelf merchandising has a lot of information as to how to navigate the skincare line it will even be more extensive, obviously, when we do the high input collection. So I think, to answer in several phases with this, it's really choosing the right retail partner that allows us to educate and train their staff and train. It's kind of called train the trainer. And then beyond that, to go further, there's a lot of ways that we go about video and even, on iPads where a lot of the retailers have iPad training for their staff. So that's the main approach that I would take, is making sure I choose the right partner for the high input collection when we get that far. Beyond that, on our social media, that's a big shout out to Kim DeFors and Beth Von Sands on my team. Beth is our Chief Creative Officer. We are spot on with asset wise as to how the brand vision and look and feel. We're all really on the same page. Kim is so mindful. She's really the assets, manages the Instagram, and she's very mindful and thoughtful on what goes up. The education piece, I think you see we run a lot of stories that train not only on our products, but it'll be a platform for us to be able to educate even further when we do get into cannabinoids and the input collection. So I don't know that it'll change much. I think our following, I mean, it's a crazy, our engagement rate, normal engagement rates usually is like 3 to 4% is high. And we're up in 7 to 9. Yeah. And well, we're 7 to 9%. And we have a very loyal following, and it's a great group of people around our social. So I'm excited to see it evolve. It's all organic. We don't work, we're not as involved with influencers. It's really people that love the brand.
And what's the best response to the brand you've seen on there?
We get these crazy rave reviews. We just got one last week, and I wish I could read it to you, but Kim's always sending me one where people are genuinely excited about it and, buying the product. And, we went to IPSY live in New York just recently, and it was 4,000 people, consumers and all influencers, everyone coming through there. And it was amazing to see how many people loved our products after, using them and trying them. We had so many people like doing videos and user generated content of, here, I'm trying this, and all over. So no, Kim and Beth they're awesome. And another thing that I really appreciate is the team really were connected as far as how that look and feel, that vision of who we are. So, and they're shareholders in the brand also. So it's their baby.
Without giving away too many, trade secrets, what do you think are the key components for a skincare company to really enhance and develop brand loyalty with their customer base?
I always say that you have to be real, and you have to really have a story it resonates, like a true story. It's not something that can be just created. I think a lot of times brands are built around an idea and a concept and a story, but when they're built around the reality, it's a true story about me. I've been formulating forever. What goes in the bottle is so important to me, and I think that point of difference is unique. You have to have that. Also, I mean, you have to have a product that works and people come back to. You can have great packaging and all kinds of promises, and in the end, you need to deliver. And that, I think that's probably the most important thing, is being very mindful of what goes into the bottle, the ingredients. I don't speak a lot. I always just assume that people know this about me, but all of my formulas, my focus has always been natural. How can I go about something from a natural perspective or an organic perspective? I made products that had the USDA organic seal on them, skincare products that, the shelf life, and they worked. And beyond that, we're so aware in sustainability and looking to brands to make, mindful choices for the planet. All of our high beauty products are made with 100% solar power. We use forest stewardship for our cartons, where no trees are taken for the cartoning. Beyond that, just the list of organic ingredients, the natural ingredients. it's just these things are important for people to resonate and I think be loyal to a brand too.
Well, I'm interested that you say everything's powered by solar, but a thought came to me when you were delivering this. I basically see it as a pitch for how you build a successful brand. What was it like fundraising for High Beauty at the very beginning, back when cannabis wasn't huge? Cannabis seed oil probably wasn't a typical cosmetic, and there weren't any natural shelves in Sephora. How did you go about making these sort of three cutting-edge things all come together 18 months too early?
I was fortunate because I left Juice Beauty, sold my shares, and I was able to self-fund in the beginning, really get this off the ground, and just with close friends and family. And those were people that stood by my side early on. And, it's amazing fundraising. That is, I have to tell you, I look back over the last, year and a half, and we've been fortunate. I've been so fortunate and I'm grateful. It's something that I had to learn. I mean, this was new to me. I have, again, one of the most brilliant men by my side, Brad Pat. He's on my board of directors and he's been by my side as all things finance. But when it comes to the pitch, I mean, I was in front of everyone. And in the beginning, I was like, we need to really have credibility from a cannabis fund perspective. And we need the beauty side of things. So a beauty fund. So I always was like, when I go out and really need to do the next, not my seed round, no pun intended, but the next round. It's
pun very much enjoyed though.
Yeah. So my next rounds, I was like, I really had a vision of how I wanted to have that board around me and that support around me. And, Narby Alexander from Canopy River cold called me early on. This was before we had even launched. And I had been in Women's Wear Daily. We were on the cover of Women's Wear Daily. And that kind of led to a flood of meetings that I, not just with Narbe, but others. And it was based on the media attention that we were getting prior to launch.
So how long was that courtship process? From the phone call to the consummation of the investment?
I want to say that, I would say that Narbe and I first spoke in September of 18. And by April, I was at that time, one of 18 portfolio companies they had chosen. Interestingly enough, so April of 19, so, 4 or 5, it's not too many months really. And, a lot of other conversations happening at the same time, getting close. And it really comes down as a founder, this being my baby, I'm so grateful. It really was an awesome choice. And it came down to what choice I needed to make. And I feel making the cannabis connection was really important for us to really open up what we could do within the world with the plant. Just, the circle that I'm in within that. I've already been in the beauty world on that side. And that's the piece that would come in next for our next round. So no, it was a lot. We've done a lot also since April, and we're getting ready to do the next round. I mean, that's what's crazy about this, how quickly we're moving.
And how do you think your pitch has been refined since then? I imagine it's been quite some time for over a year. So you must be pretty much more defined in your vision, I would suppose.
I feel I'm much more executed in my vision. So I really had the vision, and I feel I'm at a point now where it's happening. And I've have major milestones behind me. And again, picking and choosing who are the right partners as we move forward, because 2020 is going to be an amazing year, a big year for us, just on, who we've chosen for retail partnerships and to be able to grow. And we again weren't planning, we've got US, Canadian, and now EU distribution. So we're all over the map. So it's exciting. I'm already excited about it. I feel more confident and very much more confident about our strategy and that it's happening. So I think this is going to be more fun, a little more fun of a round.
Yeah, well, talking of more fun, you spoke about knowing the beauty world and now you know the cannabis world. How do the two compare?
It's interesting. There are so many brilliant minds in the cannabis world that come from different areas, from tech, from finance. I think what I find about the cannabis world and the investment world, there's so many brilliant, smart people from all different areas. And from the beauty world, there's a lot of us that are very smart and bright, don't get me wrong, on all areas, but we're really focused in on beauty, we know this space. Whereas the cannabis world seems to be less about cannabis. I just let me make sure I word this correctly. Less about cannabis, but it's people coming from expertise in other areas, and it's bringing it to the cannabis space. I love that. I mean, whether it's IT or tech, the people, the scientists, they're just the minds that I'm, even in collaborative conversations with just through Canopy River portfolio companies. It's insane, the people that and what they're doing, and it just amazes me how you thought of that. That's unbelievable. How'd you think of that and make that happen? Whereas over on my side, I'm like, well, that's a little simpler, I feel, what I do. And so another thing on Canopy River I wanted to share that's interesting is about high beauty is when we had started those discussions, as I said, we were one of 18 companies that they had invested in, and they had 1,500 pitches. We were one of 1,500 pitches, and beyond that, I'm the only woman. So it's a crazy that when you think of, had an aha moment at one of the investor events that we had where I was on a panel, and being the only woman looking out in a room of these investors and going, wow, that I was one of 18, one of 1,500, and I'm the only one of one. So it was kind of a major aha moment. I think that's when I was like, I can do this fundraising.
Yeah, that must have been quite special. I think we've got time for one more question, and Jonathan's got one in the bank.
I think so. So if you're ready for it, I guess the last question in this interview, and I really didn't need to give it so much of a preamble there, but what advice would you give to budding CEOs like yourself who are looking to penetrate either the cannabis industry, the beauty skincare industry, or perhaps straddle both?
I think it goes back to what I said to you a bit earlier, that you have to come up with a unique point of difference, something innovative, something that's different. And you have to look at it, the space, find that white space, find a way to do it different and stand out. You really have to be able to stand out based on the real story, like who you are. There's no room for Me Too's out there anymore. There's just, you just throw a brand out in the beauty world, or even cannabis is how quickly it's moved. And it's, it's not like we need another vape pen. You know what I mean? We're really like, what can you do differently? And what's the next thing? Thinking ahead, and I think really not getting caught into, this is where the market is. This is everything that's happening now. How do you fit into that? But look outside that box and go, what hasn't been done? And where should we be heading with this? I think another thing is thinking of the consumer first. And I think a lot of what's needed and what is the consumer looking for, that's the end user. And having an understanding of how you can really truly do something that they resonate with and they can be loyal to and that they actually want. So those are some of the keys.
So if we're walking into a shop and see some psychedelic skincare in a few years, that might well fit the bill.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's next on the horizon for me.
Well, we could do a JV.
Melissa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where do they go? The smoke rings I blow each night.
Well, wasn't that a wild ride, listeners? I hope you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, you owe me your likes, your shares, and your subscribes, because I literally feed on them. Without them, I couldn't eat. So, until next time, enjoy your week and enjoy our podcast. That's not quite an outro. Okay, you need your money back. Sorry.
Hello, please take me above. Take me with